Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. Dynamite tonight was from the Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas. And Dynamite tonight was an awesome show. Very good show it was tonight. And it was St. Patrick's Day Slam for this edition of Dynamite. But tonight we saw Adam Cole and Redragon, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly versus Hangman and Paige, the AEW World Champion, and the Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus in a trios tag team match. We had John Moxley and Bryan Danielson versus Chucky T, Chuck Taylor, and Wheelie Yuta. The TNT Championship was on the line where Scorpio Sky defended the title against Wardlow. We had the Hardy Boys in action. Jeff Hardy making his in-ring debut on Dynamite. And they ended up taking on Private Party, who was Matt Hardy's former proteges in the AHFO. And in the main event, we had the steel cage match for the AEW Women's World Championship. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, defend the title against Thunder Rosa. But overall, Dynamite was a very good show. Awesome show it was tonight. But anyways, let's jump right into the review. Dynamite opened up tonight with the Trios Tag Team match. Adam Cole and Redragon, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish versus Hangman and Paige and the Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Very good match this was, very enjoyable. The wrestling here was great. Yeah, Jungle Boy started off the match with Adam Cole. And Adam Cole and Paige were avoiding knee strikes from each other. We had Adam Cole end up responding with a sharp knee to Paige's chest. And Cole ended up taking in Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish started working on Paige's arm. So Luchasaurus then ended up taking in. Luchasaurus started dropping Adam Cole and Bobby Fish with some chops. And we had Bobby Fish end up kicking Luchasaurus' leg away. And Bobby Fish ended up continuing his attack on Luchasaurus. Kyle O'Reilly then ended up getting involved, started being down on Luchasaurus. So Luchasaurus was able to fight through, and then Paige ended up tagging in. Paige ended up sending Bobby Fish flying out of the ring, and Paige ended up launching himself out of the ring to take out Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. So it went back to the ring. Paige ended up hitting a pop-up powerbomb on Bobby Fish. So Paige ended up going for the cover. Bobby Fish ended up kicking out. So Paige was sent up for the buckshot lariat, but Bobby Fish ended up rolling out of the ring. Jungle Boy ended up taking in. Jungle Boy ended up launching himself over the top rope. He ended up taking down Adam Cole and Redragon. So Jungle Boy ended up going up to the top rope as he went back to the ring. But Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole were being fought away. And what was really cool in this match, the spot right here, where you had Paige and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, all three of them end up hitting moonsaults at the same time. It was a triple moonsault that they hit to Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. That was just an awesome spot there. But I'd never seen that before, where you had three guys doing a moonsault onto their opponents. Thought that was a perfect spot in the match. And Adam Cole was working on Jungle Boy, and it allowed Bobby Fish to get back involved. He started unloading with some strikes. Yeah, Jungle Boy end up delivering a super kick to Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly came back, started working on a submission. Adam Cole had Paige locked in a submission. Paige then ended up tagging in. Him and Adam Cole began beating each other up. Paige delivered the Deadeye to Adam Cole, but Bobby Fish ended up taking him out. So you had Jungle Boy later on. He ended up hitting the Doomsday Device onto Kyle O'Reilly. And he went for the cover. Bobby Fish ended up breaking up the pin. So Jungle Boy targeted Bobby Fish, ended up attacking him. Adam Cole then ended up managed to make a tag, and he ended up delivering the boom to Jungle Boy. And he went for the cover. There you go. Adam Cole and Redragon, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a very good trios tag team match. Great wrestling here. Like I said, that spot in the match where you had Jurassic Express and Paige doing the moonsault at the same time was just awesome. Very entertaining match. So then we had Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was backstage. He was interviewing Keith Lee, Ricky Starks, and Starks ended up saying that it's Keith Lee's lucky day and that he has an ass whooping saved for a later date. Starks ended up telling Keith Lee not to show up on Rampage and run things. And that is what Keith Lee did. He did things his way. So Starks ended up saying that if Keith Lee goes and shows up on Rampage, him and Hobbs are going to stomp him like a light. Because Hobbs was like, remember the power slam? So Keith Lee ended up saying to Ricky Starks, oh, the same thing when I punched you in the face and you laid on the mat like a little bitch. So he ended up telling Starks and Hobbs, I'll see you Friday. So that was a little interview. But Keith Lee is going to be on Rampage this Friday. He's going to be facing Max Caster of the Acclaimed. And Rampage is not going to start at 10 o'clock this Friday. It's going to start at 11:30 because of the NCAA tournament. So I'm not going to be covering Rampage in my SmackDown review. I do the SmackDown and AEW Rampage together. Only going to be covering SmackDown this Friday. So it's going to be Keith Lee versus Max Caster this Friday on Rampage. And then we had Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley versus Chucky T, Chuck Taylor, and Wheelie Yuta. You had William Regal on commentary during the match. Chucky T and Wheelie Yuta end up coming out along with Orange Cassidy, Danhausen, and Trent. And this was a good match. This was an enjoyable match here. So before the bell even rang, you had Bryan end up going after Wheelie Yuta. Moxley then came in with a kick to Wheelie Yuta. And after the kick, he delivered a delayed vertical suplex to Yuta. Bryan tagged back in, started continuing his attack on Yuta in the corner. And, Bryan and Moxley, they were just making quick tags to each other just to take out Wheelie Yuta. Yuta then ended up making the tag to Chucky T. And Chucky T started delivering some chops and some forearms to Bryan. And Chucky T ended up delivering a plancha, which took down Moxley down on the floor. So then we had Chucky T licking a single leg crab. Moxley then ended up coming in, delivered a boot to Chucky T, and then he ended up hanging Chucky T on the apron. Bryan ended up attacking Chucky T on the outside of the ring, and he ended up sending Chucky T into the barricade. So Moxley ended up coming back in, delivered a drop kick and some chops to Chucky T. So Bryan ended up working on Chucky T's back. Moxley ended up coming back in again. So Moxley and Bryan were just taking turns in the match to take down Yuta and Chucky T. Moxley ended up hitting a pile driver to Chucky T. And Bryan ended up missing a drop kick in the corner. Chucky T ended up catching Moxley with a knee. Yuta ended up hitting a inverted atomic drop and then a forearm into the corner. Yuta then later on ended up hitting a German suplex into a bridge on Moxley, and he went for the cover. Moxley ended up kicking out. Moxley then got back up, delivered a cutter to Yuta, and we had Moxley end up going for the cover. Chucky T ended up breaking up the pin. So Chucky T ended up taking Moxley out of the ring, but Moxley ended up biting him. Moxley ended up hitting the paradigm shift. Bryan started kicking Wheelie Yuta. And at the end of the match, Bryan started stomping on Yuta. Moxley ended up coming in, and Moxley ended up locking in the Bulldog on Yuta. So you go, Moxley and Bryan ended up winning the match. Post-match, you had the rest of the best friends, Orange Cassidy, Danhausen, and Trent. They end up walking to the back, and Wheelie Yuta ended up stopping, and he headed into the ring. So William Regal was in there along with Bryan and Moxley. Yuta offered his hand to William Regal. William Regal then ended up slapping Wheelie Yuta. So Yuta ended up squaring up to William Regal, and the two end up having some words for each other, and then Yuta ended up heading to the back. And pretty much that was basically that. So with that being said, will Wheelie Yuta be the first recruit with William Regal, Moxley, and Bryan? It's a possibility, because Wheelie Yuta has been nothing but a jobber, and if he's the first recruit to join with William Regal, Moxley, and Bryan, that could be good for him. I'm interested if Yuta's going to be the first recruit to be with William Regal, Moxley, and Bryan. That'll do good for him. And that slap by William Regal to Yuta probably knocks some sense into Yuta. So really interested in where this goes. If Yuta's going to be the first recruit with them, which I hope it is, because that'll make everything interesting in where they take Yuta. Considering he's been a jobber, they made him into a jobber. But hopefully they change this all around with Yuta and make him that first recruit with Regal, Moxley, and Bryan. And then we had FTR backstage. Tony Schiavone was back there, and Wheeler ended up saying that Tully Blanchard had lost focus. And when you do that, you lose the job. So if you remember last week, FTR ended up firing Tully Blanchard. So Dax Harwood ended up saying that things got out of hand. And the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick, end up coming to FTR. Matt and Nick end up joking about FTR's style, like the clothes that they wear, and also their hair. And there was a little teasing there about the best there is. Of course, referencing Bret Hart. Bret Hart saying, "Oh, I'm the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be." So we had the Bucks end up saying to FTR that they'll always be the second best tag team in AEW. So that's what the Bucks end up telling FTR. So pretty much that was basically that. But will FTR have Bret Hart be their new manager. Because right there, that little tease where I think it was maybe Matt Jackson or Nick Jackson said, the best there is. If they hire the best there is, will Bret Hart be the new manager for FTR? Can you imagine that? That would be awesome. Having Bret Hart manage FTR. And then we had the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed were backstage. Anthony Bowens, Max Caster. They were cutting a promo on Keith Lee. Ricky Starks ended up coming over, and he ended up telling them it's about time they deal with the new faces. So then we had Swerve, Shane Strickland appear. And he ended up telling them Fridays is now Swerve's house. Of course, Swerve, he's over with the crowd so far after debuting at Revolution. You know, because the crowd always cheers Swerve. So, but I'm a fan of Swerve. And then we had the Jericho Appreciation Society. Jericho, Daniel Garcia 2.0, Jake Hager ended up coming out. They were out to make their announcement. If you remember last week, the stable was formed last week where Jericho ended up taking out Santana and Ortiz. And then Daniel Garcia 2.0 ended up coming out. And then they formed the Jericho Appreciation Society. So Matt Lee ended up saying that if it was up to him, there would be no sing-along because, of course, the crowd sing along to Judas. He ended up saying that's why Jericho is a better man than him. So Jeff Park ended up saying that's why he deserves to be idolized for his contributions to the industry and as a human. So then Jericho ended up getting on the mic. He ended up telling the fans that they're lucky to be alive in his era. Jericho wanted to say that for over 30 years, people have lived through him and his great matches and promos. He even said that he builds companies like this one. He ended up saying that with no him, no Jericho, there is no AEW. So Jericho ended up saying, however, the fans take him for granted. He said he goes on social media and he reads what the fans write, and it is hurtful to him. So Jericho ended up saying that the people don't appreciate him, and that the roster doesn't appreciate him, and neither did the Inner Circle. He ended up saying that Sammy walked out on him, Santana Ortiz disrespected him, and Eddie Kingston embarrassed him at Revolution. Jericho ended up saying that these men appreciate him. Of course, he's referring to Hager, Daniel Garcia, and 2.0. He ended up saying that they appreciate each other because they can't relate to the rest of the roster, and that there's nothing more than pro wrestlers. Jericho ended up saying that a pro wrestler hasn't been a legendary millionaire, and he isn't that. He's not a pro wrestler. So then Jericho declared himself as a sports entertainer. So Daniel Garcia then ended up getting on the mic, and he ended up saying that if Jericho is going to call himself a sports entertainer, then he is too. So Daniel Garcia called himself a sports entertainer. Jericho ended up saying that Daniel Garcia appreciates him because there was a car crash where one wrestler got injured, and Jericho had never heard of them. So he ended up saying that he donated money to them, and then he walked again. Jericho wanted to say that he got a call a year ago from his former best friend, Kevin, possibly referring to Kevin Owens. He ended up saying that he wanted him to put his friends on his podcasts, and those men were 2.0. Of course, they were known as Everrise in NXT. So Jericho ended up saying that they got hired, and that's why they appreciate him. Jericho ended up saying that 2.0 is a stupid name that was given to them by bad creative. So Jericho ended up giving 2.0 new names. So 2.0 is not going to be called Matt Lee and Jeff Parker anymore. Their new names are their real ones, Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. So those are going to be, their real names now that Jericho, is giving them. So Jericho ended up saying that Jake Hager is his right-hand man, and that he's known Hager for 10 years, and he is the hand of the king. So Hager ended up getting on the mic. Hager ended up saying that they are the JAS, and they beat up pro wrestlers. So Jericho ended up saying that this is the latest reinvention, and the date that the era of the sports entertainer begins. So Jericho ended up telling us that is entertainment. So that was how the segment ended. But really enjoyed this segment. Really am interested in where they're taking the Jericho Appreciation Society. And, 2.0 now having their real names. That is really good. But really am interested in this new stable. With Jericho, Hager, Danny Garcia, and also Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. So the Jericho Appreciation Society has me interested. And then we had a vignette with Serena Deeb about her feud with Hikaru Shida. She ended up making it clear that she's going to end Hikaru Shida's career. So pretty much that was basically that, vignette of Serena Deeb. And then we had Scorpio Sky versus Wardlow, TNT Championship on the line. We had Scorpio Sky end up coming out along with Dan Lambert and Paige Van Zandt. And this was a pretty good match here. Scorpio Sky ended up being down on Wardlow, but Wardlow ended up picking up Scorpio Sky, dropped him down to the mat. Scorpio Sky got back up, delivered some kicks and some strikes to Wardlow in the corner. We had Scorpio Sky end up biting Wardlow's head. Wardlow ended up getting angry and he charged at Scorpio Sky into the corner before dropping Sky again to the mat. There was a point where Dan Lambert ended up getting involved, and Paige Van Zandt and her husband ended up getting in Wardlow's face. And we had later on, Wardlow and Scorpio Sky were on the outside. Scorpio Sky took advantage of the match and charging Wardlow into the apron. So both guys went back into the ring. We had Scorpio Sky end up attacking Wardlow's legs with some strikes. So we had Wardlow end up delivering some belly-to-belly suplexes on Scorpio Sky. So Scorpio Sky was looking to go for the cutter over the top rope, but Wardlow ended up hitting a powerbomb. And Wardlow was able to hit a one-arm choke slam to Scorpio Sky. Wardlow ended up going for the powerbomb symphony on Scorpio Sky, which he did. He ended up hitting 3 powerbombs. He was looking to go for a 4th one, but Dan Lambert ended up getting on the apron. He provided a distraction, which allowed Scorpio Sky to roll out of the ring. Wardlow was then looking to go for one powerbomb on the floor. And then Shawn Spears ended up appearing. Shawn Spears walked out. He had 2 chairs in hand. So Wardlow ended up encouraging Spears to come into the ring. But Spears ended up talking with the referee. And MJF ended up appearing. MJF ended up sending Wardlow into the ring post. And as Wardlow got back to the ring, Scorpio Sky ended up rolling him up. So there you go. Scorpio Sky ended up winning the match, retaining the TNT Championship. But obviously, we all knew MJF was going to cost Wardlow the match. So post-match, Austin Vanderford, who was Paige Van Zant's husband, ended up jumping Wardlow. He started brawling with Wardlow. Wardlow ended up fighting everyone off, and it left Wardlow and MJF, just the two of them in there. So Wardlow ended up getting a hold of MJF before he can hit the powerbomb. Spears ended up nailing a chair shot to Wardlow, and just we had MJF, Spears, and Scorpio Sky, and them started being down on Wardlow. Spears ended up hitting Wardlow with a chair shot to the head, and then MJF ended up paying off Dan Lambert. So MJF ended up using his diamond ring, and he ended up hitting Wardlow with the diamond ring, and pretty much that was basically that. So this is going to be setting off Wardlow and MJF, their feud. It's possibly going to lead into a match with them at Double or Nothing. So we're going to have a long build to this match, at Double or Nothing between MJF and Wardlow. So it's going to be a good feud between them. But overall, good match between Scorpio Sky and Wardlow for the TNT Championship. Obviously, we knew Scorpio Sky was going to retain the title because MJF was going to come in and cost Wardlow the win. And then we had Alex Marvez with Jay Cargill and Mark Sterling. So Mark Sterling was questioning Alex Marvez why he doesn't have any green. So he ended up asking who will be the lucky one to face Jay Cargill in her 30th match. Because Jay Cargill, if she gets this win, she'll be 30-0. Jay Cargill, undefeated, TBS champion. So Jay Cargill ended up questioning who will be doing that as well. So Jay Cargill, still undefeated. And then we had Matt and Jeff Hardy versus Private Party. And this was a awesome match. Glad to hear the Hardy Boys' theme music again. And they were over with the crowd. They were over more than ever here. So just hearing the Hardy Boys music and they came out, just awesome. Of course, Private Party is the former proteges for Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy was with the AHFO. So they end up kicking, of course, Andrade and Private Party, Butcher and the Blade, end up kicking out Matt Hardy last week out of the AHFO, and that's when Jeff ended up coming out, and both him and Matt were reunited, which was an awesome moment. What a moment that was last week on Dynamite. So the match started off, Mark Quinn tried to hide in the corner. It led to Matt Hardy doing a delete chant, which, the crowd started doing delete, delete. So it led to Jeff Hardy and Matt and Private Party brawling. Matt Hardy started working the arm of Mark Quinn. And then Jeff Hardy ended up coming in, and Jeff and Matt started working together. And Matt Hardy ended up working his way back into the match. He ended up getting rattled with Insecurity by Mark Quinn. Isaiah Cassidy ended up coming in, and Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn ended up double teaming on Matt. Matt Hardy then ended up looking to go for the Razor's Edge, but Isaiah Cassidy started scrambling away. He ended up pushing Jeff Hardy's face, and he ended up trying to get in. And that caused the referee to be distracted. Private Party then ended up pulling Matt into the ring post by his legs. And then they launched Matt Hardy into the barricade. So Jeff Hardy was arguing with the referee, which allowed Private Party to get some cheap shots in on Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy was looking to go for the side effect, but Mark Quinn ended up sending him out of the ring. Matt Hardy ended up dropping Isaiah Cassidy on the outside with a punch. And he ended up turning around, and Mark Quinn ended up flying at him over the ropes. So Private Party was doing everything to just take down Matt Hardy. So Matt Hardy ended up coming back. Matt Hardy ended up catching Isaiah Cassidy, ended up hitting him. So Matt Hardy ended up coming back. He ended up catching Isaiah Cassidy and delivered a side effect onto Mark Quinn. And it allowed Jeff Hardy to tag in. And Jeff ended up going up to the top. He ended up getting distracted. Private Party was thinking about hitting the gin and juice to Jeff Hardy, but Matt Hardy ended up interfering. It then set up Jeff Hardy to deliver a splash, and he ended up getting it. And he ended up going for the cover. Isaiah Cassidy ended up kicking out. And Private Party was looking to go for a silly string, but Matt and Jeff ended up countering with double twist of fates to Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. And Jeff Hardy ended up following that up with a Swanton Bomb. And there you go. The Hardys ended up winning the match. Post-match, we had Andrade end up heading to the ring with the Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny. And the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff, end up standing their ground. Darby Allin and Sting then end up making their way out. And pretty much that was basically that. So Darby Allin and Sting were standing in there along with the Hardys. But this was an awesome match. Really enjoyed hearing the Hardy Boys theme again, and them coming out just like old times, going back to my childhood. And there was a point where Jeff Hardy, when he was in the ring, the crowd was on their feet, which was awesome. And of course, it was Jeff Hardy's in-ring debut on Dynamite tonight. But overall, it was an awesome match. Glad that the Hardys have reunited, both Matt and Jeff. And then Red Velvet was shown backstage. Red Velvet ended up saying that she promises to put a stop to Layla Hirsch this Friday on Rampage. So we're going to be seeing that match this Friday, Red Velvet versus Layla Hirsch. So it should be a solid women's match. Main event. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, versus Thunder Rosa in a steel cage for the AEW Women's World Championship. And this was an awesome match here. This was an awesome women's match. Last year they had the unsanctioned Lights Out match, which was awesome. That was one of the best matches on the show last year on Dynamite and St. Patrick's Day Slam for last year. Just very bloody. Britt Baker was bloodied up. And, this match, had blood. It also had, chairs. Also, you can't forget thumbtacks. Thumbtacks were also used in this match. But Thunder Rosa ended up getting a big entrance. And she got a huge ovation from the crowd. You had woman mariachis, just singing as Thunder Rosa made her way out. And Thunder Rosa, she looked awesome when she came out wearing the hat, and the makeup looked awesome on her. So then Britt Baker then ended up making her way out. She didn't come out with Jamie Hayter or Rebel. She just came out by herself. So as the match started, Britt Baker ended up trying to climb the cage immediately to escape, and Thunder Rosa ended up pulling her down. And Baker was doing that several times, trying to escape the cage. Thunder Rosa ended up pulling her down, every time. Thunder Rosa ended up launching Baker headfirst into the steel. She then ended up dragging Britt Baker across the steel by her face, and Baker was already busted open. Thunder Rosa ended up slamming Baker into the steel repeatedly. Baker ended up fighting back. She ended up pushing Thunder Rosa into the steel several times. And Britt Baker ended up hooking Thunder Rosa around the ropes and started slapping her. And she delivered some knee shots to Thunder Rosa. And Thunder Rosa was now bleeding. So both women were bleeding in the match. So we had Britt Baker once again end up launching Thunder Rosa into the steel of the cage. So Baker ended up pulling a bunch of chairs from underneath the ring. Thunder Rosa ended up charging in with several clotheslines to Baker. Thunder Rosa ended up getting the chair, used it several times on Britt Baker. And Thunder Rosa hit the stunner to Baker. Thunder Rosa ended up charging into the corner, followed up with a double knee strike to Baker. She then ended up hitting the drop kick into the corner. She ended up going for the cover. Baker ended up kicking out. So we had Baker accidentally delivering a super kick to the referee. So the referee ended up getting super kicked. And we had Thunder Rosa ended up pinning Baker, but the ref was knocked out of the ring. So Thunder Rosa ended up pinning the Thunder Driver, and of course, still no referee here to count. So Thunder Rosa ended up going up to the top rope. Baker ended up swatting at her with some chair shots, and she then ended up sending a mound of chairs together, and she ended up hitting a avalanche air raid to Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa went through the chairs, and of course there was no referee still. So Aubrey Edwards ended up making her way into the cage. So Aubrey ended up counting. Thunder Rosa ended up kicking out because Baker ended up going for the pin on Thunder Rosa. So Baker and Thunder Rosa ended up going back and forth with some punches. Baker and Aubrey Edwards end up going back and forth arguing. Baker ended up setting up 4 chairs. She ended up stacking the chairs, standing up. Baker ended up putting some more across, setting other chairs on top. And she ended up creating a pile up of these chairs. So Thunder Rosa ended up finding her way out of it. The two of them ended up standing on top of the rope. And Britt Baker ended up falling back. Her spine ended up landing on the chairs. So Thunder Rosa ended up going for the cover, but Baker ended up kicking out. So we had Baker end up going out of the ring, and she retrieved thumbtacks. It was a bag, and of course we all knew what was going to be inside: thumbtacks. You can't have a match like this without seeing thumbtacks being involved. So we had Britt Baker. She was looking to go for the lockjaw, but Thunder Rosa was biting out of Britt Baker, locking in the lockjaw on her. So we had Baker end up putting Thunder Rosa through the thumbtacks, which she didn't get a whole lot of thumbtacks on her. So as Britt Baker was trying to lock in the lockjaw, Thunder Rosa was biting, Britt Baker's hand, and Thunder Rosa ended up slamming Britt Baker's hand into the thumbtacks. So then Thunder Rosa then powerbombed Britt Baker into the thumbtacks, but Britt Baker was fighting back. She ended up smashing a chair into Thunder Rosa's face. But then Thunder Rosa came back, delivered the Fire Thunder Driver to Britt Baker into the thumbtacks, and Thunder Rosa ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Thunder Rosa won the match, and she is your new AEW Women's World Champion. And I knew that Thunder Rosa was going to win the title. I called this. And it was going to happen in San Antonio. So I think we all knew that Thunder Rosa was going to win the AEW Women's World Championship in this cage match. And it was well deserving. Britt Baker had a pretty good run with the title. And it was time to pass it down to Thunder Rosa. So overall, this was an awesome cage match. Very bloody. You had chairs being involved, thumbtacks. It was awesome. Great match between Baker and Thunder Rosa. These two have been going at it for a year, and it was just long-term booking here with Baker and Thunder Rosa. Does this top their unsanctioned Lights Out match from last year? In a sense, maybe. But still, the unsanctioned Lights Out match from last year was good. It was enjoyable. It was also very bloody as well. But overall, awesome match. And it was an awesome Dynamite. St. Patrick's Day Slam, good show. But overall, that's it for my review of Dynamite St. Patrick's Day Slam. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all on Friday for SmackDown. Not going to be covering AEW Rampage because it's going to be on late. If it was at 10 o'clock, you already know that I will do SmackDown and review AEW Rampage in the same video, but it's just going to be a SmackDown review on Friday. So anyways, stay tuned for that on Friday, and see you all later.